but not everyone was so kind. In fifth period gym class, during a mandatory group stretch, Sage heard it. "Yo, what locker do you even use now?" She turned to see Ben Harper, 2 inches taller and 5 times meaner, smirking across the mat. "You going to the girls' room now, or you got your own closet?" A few people laughed. One kid muttered, "That's messed up, man." But no one stepped in. Sage swallowed. Her fingers trembled. She opened her mouth, but before she could respond, a voice cut through the gym. "Back off, Ben." The whole class turned. Jace, leaning against the gym wall with his arms crossed, in full soccer warm-ups, looking straight at Ben with ice in his eyes. Ben scoffed. "Oh, great. The boyfriend speaks." Jace walked forward slowly. "I'm not her boyfriend. But I am someone who doesn't punch down." Ben looked around, clearly expecting support. None came. Most of the kids were silent. A few looked away. Some even nodded toward Jace. Sage stared, stunned. Jace glanced at her just once, a small, almost invisible smile. Then turned and walked out. After school, Sage found him at the bike rack. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "I know. They'll start rumors. They already have. Why do you speak up?" Jace leaned against the fence. "Because I saw how brave you were in that cafe. Because I remembered how I felt when I saw you in that dress and couldn't stop thinking about it. Because maybe I care." Sage blinked. "Care?" He shrugged. "You're real, Sage. Not many people are." That night, Sage sat on her bedroom floor with Carla on video chat. "You survived your first day," Carla said proudly. "Barely. And yet, you did it." Sage smiled. "With eyeliner. And a little backup." Carla winked. "That's all any of us ever need." Sage turned off the light later that night and lay back in bed, clutching her journal. She didn't write this time. She didn't need to. The words were already inside her. "They know. And I'm still here. Maybe this is what power feels like." By Thursday, the whispers had died down. People still stared. Some still snickered. But something strange had started happening between classes. Other students began saying her name. Not Noah. Not that boy. They said Sage. And it stuck. Even the teachers were starting to come around. Mr. Halberd, the notoriously grumpy history teacher, paused mid-roll call to say, "Miss Sage, is that right?" She nodded, and he didn't flinch. Just kept going. No fuss. No questions. It was small. But it mattered. That afternoon, while walking to her locker, Sage spotted a flyer taped to the wall. Mid-year talent showcase. Friday night, school auditorium, 7 p.m. Sign-up deadline, today. She smiled at the thought, imagining Mia doing stand-up or someone breakdancing on stage. But as she turned away, a voice behind her said, "Thinking about performing?" She turned, and there was Ms. Elkins, her counselor. Sage blinked. "Oh no. I was just looking." "You know," Ms. Elkins said, "sometimes when people find their voice, the universe gives them a mic." That night, Sage told Carla about it over video chat. She expected Carla to wave it off, to say, "Maybe next time, darling," but instead, Carla gasped. "You have to do it." Sage laughed. "Me? What would I even perform?" Carla smiled slyly and leaned off screen. She returned holding a dusty old ukulele. "Do you remember this?" Sage's mouth fell open. "You still have it? You used to strum it when you visited, remember? You made up songs about breakfast food. I bet those fingers still remember the chords." Sage hesitated. "But that's a big stage." Carla nodded. "So make it your big moment." The next day at lunch, Sage sat beside Mia and asked, "What would you say if I sang at the talent show?" Mia grinned. "I'd say I'm sitting front row. And if I did it as Sage, then you'd steal the whole damn night." By 3 p.m., her name was on the sign-up sheet. Sage Blake, vocal performance. When Jace saw her name on the list later in the hallway, he gave her a slow, proud nod. She felt her knees go weak. Friday came fast. Melissa helped her pick an outfit, a soft burgundy skirt, black tights, and a blouse with sheer sleeves that made her feel elegant and strong. She added her silver necklace and painted her nails deep red. Her mom didn't say much. But just before she left, She hugged her and whispered, "No matter what they say, this is you." I see that now. The auditorium was packed. Too packed. Heart-thuddingly packed. Backstage, Sage peeked through the curtain and saw over 200 people. Her classmates. Her teachers. Parents. Strangers. All waiting. She gripped Carla's old ukulele so hard her knuckles turned white. Then she heard it, whispered through the curtain. "Hey." She turned. It was Jace, holding a single rose. "You've got this," he said. "No matter what happens, you've already won." She took the rose with shaking hands. "Thank you." Her name was called. The auditorium quieted. She stepped onto the stage. Every step felt like walking a tightrope across the Grand Canyon. She sat on the lone stool at center stage, adjusted the mic, strummed the first note. Her voice was quiet, fragile, but it grew. Verse by verse, Sage sang a simple song she had written the night before about finding your reflection in someone else's eyes and realizing it was always there, waiting. By the final chorus, the room was silent. A fragile silence. Then someone clapped. Then another. And another. Until the entire auditorium was on their feet. Applauding. For her. Not for a costume. Not for a joke. But for Sage. She stood there, stunned, under the spotlight. And in the back row, she saw her mom. Smiling. Wiping away a tear. Sage barely remembered stepping off the stage. Her hands were still shaking when she reached the wings, but the adrenaline buzzed through her chest like lightning. Students she'd never spoken to before high-fived her. Ms. Elkins hugged her. Mia mouthed the words, "You slayed." But it wasn't until she reached the back hallway that it really hit her. Her mom was waiting. And behind her stood Carla, surprise. Carla beamed, arms wide open. Sage ran into her, nearly knocking her over. They both laughed, clinging to each other as if letting go would undo everything. "You didn't tell me you were coming," Sage said through tears. "I wouldn't miss your debut," Carla whispered. "You were magnificent." Melissa stepped forward then. "You didn't just perform, Sage. You owned the stage." Sage looked between them, heartful. "You're both really okay with this?" "With me?" Carla grinned. "I'm ecstatic." Melissa hesitated, then nodded. "I'm still learning. But every day I see you smile like this, it confirms I'm learning in the right direction." Later that night, at home, Sage sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, the applause still echoing in her mind. On her lap sat an old photo album. She flipped through the pages, Halloween costumes, birthdays, school recitals, all of them showing a boy who never quite fit. Then she reached the final page. An empty one. She pulled out a Polaroid taken that night, one Carla had snapped backstage just before her performance. It showed Sage, holding her ukulele, dressed in confidence and velvet red, eyes wide with nervous joy. She taped it in. A new beginning. The next morning, she walked into the kitchen to find her mom at the table with coffee, scrolling through her phone. "Hey," Sage said, pouring herself a cup. "Hey, Sage," her mom replied without missing a beat. Sage paused. "You said that like it's always been my name." Melissa smiled. "Feels like it has." That afternoon, Carla invited Sage to her studio for one last mirror moment before she headed back home. "This mirror," Carla said, pointing at the vintage, gold-framed one in her attic, "has seen a lot of versions of you. But I think it's time she met the real one." Sage stood before it, tall, proud, steady. Same hair. Same necklace. Same freckles. But everything else? Transformed. Not because of makeup. Not because of clothes. Because now, the girl in the mirror wasn't waiting to be seen. She was finally being. "I don't feel like I'm pretending anymore," Sage whispered. "You never were," Carla said gently. "You were becoming." As they hugged goodbye, Carla handed her a small wrapped box. "Open this when you're ready." Sage smiled. "I trust you." Back at home, she sat on her bed and peeled away the wrapping. Inside was a velvet pouch. Inside the pouch, a ring. Delicate. Silver. Engraved on the inside with tiny cursive letters. She was always there. Sage slipped it onto her finger. Then turned to her mirror, her own mirror now, in her own room, and whispered, "Thank you for waiting." And the girl in the mirror smiled back. Not a stranger. Not a shadow. But Sage. Always Sage.